Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining. My name is Megan Ames. I'm the program manager for the Career Training Program, and I'm joined by my colleague Abigail, who is the communications manager for the Career Training Program. So today we'll be talking about finding an internship and applying for the J1 intern trainee visa, and we'll be holding an alumni panel where some of our past participants and some current participants will be sharing about their experience. So just a couple of housekeeping items. You are all muted, so please enter any questions that you have in the chat function, and we will be taking questions after the alumni panel, so you can put in questions that you have for the alumni, and then we'll also be taking questions at the end as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So this is the agenda for today. We'll talk about InterExchange, just give you a brief overview of our organization, the difference between the J1 intern and trainee visas, what they are. Then we'll hold our alumni panel. And after that, we'll just go over the eligibility for these types of visas and then discuss how to apply for the visas themselves. So InterExchange, we're a nonprofit and we focus on cross-cultural exchange between people of the US and people of other countries and vice versa. And so we have a number of different programs that we work with. We have our program, the Career Training Program, which includes both the intern program as well as the trainee program. We also have Au Pair USA, Camp USA, which is for camp counselors, Work and Travel USA. Our Working Abroad program is for people from the US to go overseas for international experiences, and we have our foundation program as well. And we work with participants from over 90 different countries, so we really promote cross-cultural exchange between the US and the whole world. So InterExchange is a Department of State designated sponsor. So this means we're an organization that's been designated by the Department of State to ensure that all of our participants and all of our hosts are eligible and suitable for this type of program. And we will issue the documentation that is required, which is the DS 2019 and the DS 7002 forms that you'll need to take to the embassy when you apply for this type of visa. And we are responsible for monitoring the participants as well as the host employers throughout their program to ensure that they're in valid visa status. So it's important to remember that a host company that you're applying to do an internship with would not be your host employer. Your visa sponsor, they would be your host. So the company is your host and InterExchange or whatever sponsor you choose would be your visa sponsor. So I'll just briefly go over the J1 intern and J1 trainee visas and what they are. So the J1 intern and trainee visas are temporary visas that are for non-immigrants to come to the US to do work or study-based programs. And they're not for ordinary employment purposes. The intern and trainee visa are not for just regular work. They're also not a pathway to become a resident or a citizen or another type of visa. So the idea is that you would come to the US on these programs, do your training and internship, and then return to your home country to share what you've learned. And these visas are required for any internship or training program in the US. The intern visa is for somebody who is a current student or a recent graduate from an academic degree program. The internship that they do does need to be related to their field of study. So if, for example, you are studying business, you should come over and do a business-related internship. It can be up to 12 months in length, but it can be anywhere from 3 weeks to 12 months. So it really depends on what you're looking for, what your requirements are for your school. They can be unpaid if they're less than 6 months long, but if they are more than 6 months, then they do need to be paid at least minimum wage. The trainee program is for somebody who's already graduated and they have at least 1 year of professional experience. And the training program that they do does need to be directly related to the experience that they have. So if you have 1 year of experience in marketing and an academic degree, then you would be eligible to do a trainee program. And that training program would need to be in marketing. It can be up to 18 months, except for the field of hospitality, which can only be 12 months, and they must be paid. So trainee programs do need to be paid at least minimum wage. Trainees are young professionals, so we do require that they're paid during their program. Either of these programs can start at any time of year. So they can start in the middle of the summer, they can start on Christmas Day, any time of the year they can start. But for both of them, a training plan is required that explains what you'll be doing while you're here in the US. So these are some studies. Some studies have been done on the value of US internships. The first one that I wanted to point out is this, that 71% of interns reported that they built very valuable social networks during their experience in the US. So it's a really great opportunity to expand your network of people in your industry and your personal network as well. And 85% of these participants highlighted their experiences on their CVs and in their professional profiles when looking for jobs. Also, 86% of interns reported that they had significant improvement in their intercultural skills during their internship, which is very important for when they're looking for jobs. As you can see on the last point, that global communication skills were mentioned in more than 31 million unique job postings. So jobs are looking for people who have intercultural skills, so you're able to gain this from doing an international internship. And these are a couple studies that were done. The last one, it was in 2019, but the IAE study was done just last year. So it's very up-to-date information about global internships. So we are going to welcome our alumni panel. So if you could put on your cameras, alumni, so we can chat with you. I will ask each of you to introduce yourself, your name, your home country, your internship or training location in the US. So let's start with Jorge, you're first on the list. So we'll just go in the order of the list here.
Now you can all hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Jorge. I am from Paraguay. Asunción, Paraguay is the capital city. I was a participant for the trainee program in Chicago, Illinois.
Lavinia, it looks like you have joined as a participant instead of an alumni. So please go into your email and join on the link that goes directly to be a panelist so that you can introduce yourself. But Sebastian, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm Sebastian. I'm 25. I'm from France. And I did a 18 months J1 training program in New Hampshire, between New York City and Montreal. I was doing mechanical engineering in a startup incubated inside Dartmouth University.
And Julia?
Hi, I'm Julia. I'm Ghanaian. I'm currently studying in France, and I interned in Anderson in South Carolina in the urban planning county government.
Wonderful. And Noah?
Yeah, hey guys, I'm Noah. I'm from Germany. My background is engineering, and I'm right now, before wrapping up my master in Germany, I'm doing an internship in Detroit, and I'm still in Detroit. I'm working for a consultancy company in the automotive industry.
Wonderful. Thank you all for being here today. I appreciate you taking the time out of your lives and out of your internships and training programs to talk to prospective applicants. So the first question I have is, what motivated you to pursue an internship or training program in the US as opposed to another country? Sebastian, would you go first?
Sure. So what motivated me to do a training program in the US? Because I was looking to leave my comfort zone. I was looking to learn English, to speak English very fluently. And I chose the US because it's an English-speaking country. the working culture can be very tough, so I like to be challenged. And also there is a strong entrepreneurship culture, and I was interested maybe I could build my company later. So this what motivated me to do that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sebastian. Jorge, could you speak a little bit about your experience?
Yes, so I had a previous experience as a work and travel participant. I had some of the working experience in the US, but it was very brief. So that was what helped me um, to challenge myself for something more professional, I want to say, and also for longer. So I started seeking the opportunity. I was already in a very international industry, international logistics. That's what I do. So yes, that's what motivated me. The U.S. market is by far the one of the I want to say most competitive markets in the world. Is in terms of logistics, I have to say it's pretty much an entire continent in within one same country. Is we all know the U.S. is a very cosmopolitan country, so I saw a lot of potential in this program, and that's what motivated me to go for it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jorge. Julia, would you speak a little bit about your experience and motivation?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, for me, I was looking for an opportunity that would have a big impact of me in terms of my professional career. So that's one of the reasons why the opportunity I found in the US was very attractive to me. Also in my field of study, that's smart and resilient cities. Europe is very different, or there's some very distinct differences between Europe and the US. So studying in Europe, I wanted to have an opportunity in the US so that now I have like a better world view. Yeah, so for me, those were my two main reasons.
Wonderful. Noah, how about you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think we already talked a lot about how beneficial it can be for your professional career, doing a program in the US, but I was also very curious about the country and the culture itself. So I think it's the US has very diverse climate and landscape. So if you want to go skiing, you can go to the Rocky Mountains, but you can also enjoy days at the beach in Florida. So, and yeah, maybe also like events like the Super Bowl, so very traditional events, which are kind of like a big thing here, which you, when you're from Europe, for example, just hear about. You have the chance to participate in those events, and that's it's just super cool to do that in firsthand.
So did you watch the Super Bowl?
I watched it, yeah. Unfortunately, the Lions, so the Detroit team, they didn't make it to the Super Bowl, but still everyone was watching it.
That's great. Yeah, that's definitely a very American experience. I'm glad that you got to experience that. Sorry, Abby. Abby's from Kansas. Great. I think I saw that Lavinia, you have joined. Would you be able to introduce yourself?
Yes.
And talk a little bit about your motivation for coming to the US?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm from Italy. I'm an intern right now at the New York City Ballet in development and fundraising area. It is a really huge sector here in US, and that's why I'm here. That's why I was really motivated to do this intern here in at the New York City Ballet, since ballet is my passion, and also fundraising is a huge, really huge sector here in US, and this opportunity has given me a great knowledge and expertise in this field.
Yeah, that's great. I know sometimes a lot of people will say that the reason that they want to come to the US is because there's particular businesses that are here that maybe have their headquarters here, something like New York City Ballet. There's no New York City Ballet outside of New York City, so it's definitely to come here for that. In terms of the resources that you all used to find your internships, did you use websites, job boards, your professors? How were you able to find the opportunity that you had, or that any particular platforms that you used while looking? Jorge, would you speak to that?
Yes, okay, for my case, I think it was a bit more different than for other participants or prospective participants, because I was already in the industry that I wanted to work for as a trainee.
Right.
So that's how I found out about InterExchange, and then I applied within the company, and it went from there.
Great, yeah, but that's a good point, that if a company that you have experience with overseas has opportunities or US offices, then that's a great way to find an opportunity, is asking your company if they have opportunities in their US office, so you can get a sense of how operations are here, or different techniques that are used in the office here. So that's
exactly. Or maybe you're particularly interested in one specific company, so maybe you could apply to that company and see if they would be willing to host a program with InterExchange or through the J1 visa in this case, or even as an intern. Or maybe there is one particular industry that you want to be a participant of, a program such as the J1, and you can start from not looking specifically on, let's say, the InterExchange platform and see what you guys have, but also you could look on the industry that you want to be part of and start from there, and then try to talk to them and see if they're willing to host a J1 program.
Right, like industry specific websites. And that's also a good point, that you can propose. Maybe you didn't think that you needed an intern, but I'm here. Would you like to host me? So you can definitely suggest it to companies as well. They may not know that about the program.
Oh, I can tell you that according to what I've heard, at least within my industry, not many companies are aware of this. But at the same time, all companies are, I don't want to say struggling, but challenged to find a staff always. And as big and as cosmopolitan as the US is, I'm sure that the J1 also has a lot of contributions to the staff of one company that is already working with American citizens.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of benefits for hosts as well.
And in the process of applying to American companies, they all ask you at some point, okay, we like your profile. Do you have all the documentation to work in the US?
Yeah.
And I feel like at that point you could easily propose no, but I am aware that this program exists. Would you be willing to work with that?
Yeah, definitely. How about you, Noah? Would you talk about how you, like what resources you use to fund your program?
Yeah, sure. I would say I also didn't use like traditional platforms actually. So I was last year in Asia doing an internship, and there it happened that I worked together with a colleague or employer of my current host company. And I was just telling him about like, yeah, I really want to live in the US for a while and have experience there. And so he connected me to the team in the US. And this is how the whole connection got established. So, and in the end, yeah, it turned out that I got the internship. So I would really highly recommend like proactively, like ask around professors, even maybe on social media, looking up some former interns at the companies you're interested in, and just try to like, yeah, get some kind of connection so that you have like a foot in the door in a way. And that's really helpful because there are a lot of opportunities out there which are not officially posted, I have the feeling. So yeah, definitely look for them.
Yeah, and finding a particular person that you connect with, so you're not just like one of a pile of resumes waiting for to hear back.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Julia, how about you?
Yeah, so I have some similarities to Noah. Previously, I started with the websites and all the other resources that I'm sure most of you know. So LinkedIn. Okay, in my school, we do have career fairs as well. So we have a website called Job Teaser, and it's similar to LinkedIn, but for the school and for the part of France I'm in. And I had been doing a lot of applications on these websites, but what finally worked for me was a link that was established through a friend and classmate. So something my friends and I do is that we share opportunities with each other. So we try and find out what kind of opportunities we're looking for. And then when we find something that's interesting to another person, we share it. So it was in that same vein that this friend shared that opportunity with me, that she had done a previous internship in that company. So she linked me with people I needed to contact in that company. And that's how I had my interview, and then I got the internship.
Hey, that's great. Yeah, it's good to have good friends that are looking out for you in that way too.
Yeah.
Sebastian, how about you? How did you find, I know you had 2 opportunities here, so.
Yeah, I didn't say it, but I got 2 opportunities. A first one in Michigan and the second one in New Hampshire. So the first one was only 2 months. It didn't work out because the startup was not working great, so I got laid off with 24 people. And for this opportunity, I applied directly to their website. It was a spontaneous application, and then I got job interviews. And for my second opportunity in New Hampshire, it was on Indeed, the job search website. I was having only 3 weeks to find a new host, so I applied like a crazy, and I got lucky to find this opportunity thanks to Indeed.
That's great. I'm glad that it worked out the second time. Lavinia, how about you?
This opportunity, this internship at the University Valley, I got thank you the network of my master program, because I was enrolled in a master program in performing arts. So they had a really huge network of organization around the world in the theater sector. So I got this opportunity, the interview, thanks them. And then what is really important, but I think for all of us was like this, the connection and the relationship that you can make while you are searching, of course, but also while you are doing your internship. If you want to stay, if you want to stay longer, if you want to find other opportunities, indeed, I have found a new opportunity thanks to the connection that I have created here with my responsible, with my tutor, just telling around that you are looking for an opportunity, an internship, that you have already your sponsorship, because actually it is a great way to use the J1 visa, because we already have the sponsor. So just, yeah, the connection, the network, I think is the best way to find a new opportunity.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think that when we've done surveys, it's always been universities and personal networks are always the top ways to find the opportunities. And cold applications where you just are applying online are another way to find them. But I think that if it's within your network, it's really much easier to actually find a person to talk to about the opportunity. And we always recommend to do informational interviews too. Like if you don't, maybe they don't have an intern opportunity yet, but then if you just talk to somebody and let them know that you're interested, then they can keep their eyes and ears out for opportunities for you. In terms of the timeline for securing your internship, would you speak to how long it took you to find the opportunity to secure the internship? So, you know, what your timeline was for, like, say you were trying to come in this summer, how far in advance did you apply? So how long before you wanted to come did you start your process? Jorge?
So I would say since the moment I secured the opportunity internally with the company, it took me about, I want to say, 3 to 4 months to get everything processed and get the visa and all of the paperwork.
Great. Noah, how about you?
Yeah, I would confirm that actually. I also think it took me between 3 and 4 months. So I think the first point of contact was in November or something, and then in February I got the offer. So it was kind of, yeah, 3 months, around 3 months.
Great. Julia, similar for you?
Yeah, for me, I think it was a little longer because I didn't know of InterExchange at first, and I had to do some research to then find InterExchange. So it was more of 5 months from when I got the offer to when I finally received my visa and could go to the US to begin my internship.
Right. Lavinia?
Yeah, 4 months, 3-4 months as well. Yeah.
All right, I'm hearing 3-4 months. Sebastian, can you confirm?
Yes, 3-4 months to get the visa and 2 months to get the job offer.
Okay, wonderful. And then piggybacking off of that, how did you discover InterExchange? You know, once you had the internship or training offer, how did you discover InterExchange to apply for sponsorship? Jorge, I know your answer, but would you answer anyway?
Yes, well, I have to say again, I was introduced to InterExchange because you already had other J1s with the same company in different locations. So yeah, in my case, I was introduced to InterExchange.
Through your company, great. Noah?
Yeah, it's kind of the same for me. So the former interns at my company, they also went with InterExchange, and they said it's super good. Everything worked pretty fine. So kind of it was word of mouth reputation, which was good, and so there was no reason for me to change the sponsor.
Right, and they already had everything set up in our system too. That made it faster.
That's true. Yeah.
Julia?
Yeah, okay, for me, I didn't know of InterExchange, so I had to do a lot of research on websites and blogs, reading to first of all understand the difference between my company and the sponsor, because at first I thought the company could be my sponsor. So I actually started the process with my company, and then later on I found out that no, they couldn't be the sponsor. So then I had to backtrack and start the process all over again and keep reading on blogs, checking websites. And once I came across InterExchange, I remember trying social media to find out if it was actually authentic, because I did not know anyone who had used InterExchange. So there was that nervousness being the first person I knew who would have to take that risk and use InterExchange. Yeah, but it worked out well in the end. So yeah, I'm glad I did.
Great, I'm glad that you found us. Lavinia, was yours also through your school?
Yeah, through my school, both tutor and the former alumni of the past year, all of them, they suggest me to apply for InterExchange, and so yeah, they're really good experiences. Was made me really easy to decide to apply to InterExchange.
Wonderful. Yeah, in Lavinia, you have a unique situation where one of the tutors at your school is a former InterExchange career training partner.
Exactly.
So she really paved the way for future participants from your school.
Yeah.
Sebastian, how about you? How did you come across InterExchange?
Sorry, me?
Yes, you, Sebastian. Yeah.
So I got the job offer, and then I was looking the process to get the J1 trainee visa.
Yep.
And so I found multiple sponsors, and I did choose InterExchange because I was having a better feeling. So yeah, this is how it worked out for me.
Great. Yeah. So you went with your gut, as we say.
Yeah. Yes.
Great. The next question I want to ask is about your experience with the J1 visa application process. It is, a longer process for the J1 because you have to have the training plan in place and you're applying with your host, not just as an individual. So what was your experience like with the J1 visa application process? And is there anything you would have done differently now that you've done it once? Jorge, would you go first?
Yeah, so it's very simple to reply this one actually, because the company that I work for in the US already did the program with InterExchange before, so they knew what to do. But also from the InterExchange side, I have to say, you guys did it. Everything looks so easy, which is not, but you definitely simplified the whole process, especially, and I have to say something that I am always so thankful to InterExchange is that you're not talking to a robot, you're not talking to AI, you're talking to an actual person that is very responsive always, and also your website is very self-explanatory. I felt bad sometimes because I came to you with a question that was like in the homepage of your website, but anyways, you still replied within, I want to say, minutes or just a few couple hours, and sharing the link and adding some additional information to whatever I ask. So definitely it's not an easy process. I mean, a lot of paperwork, a very complex process to apply to a visa for the US. That's complex anywhere in the world. But you definitely made it look very easier than usual, I have to say.
Great. Glad we made it look easy.
Yes, definitely. And thank you for that, by the way. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jorge. Noah, how about you?
Yeah, so in terms of the trainings plans, I think I was a little bit lucky that my company did that already with former interns. So we had kind of like a structure where we can orientate ourselves on. But it was super helpful because we had a very close exchange with InterExchange, because there are some little like things you need to be careful about, and so it was pretty easy to run this like couple of rounds, and in the end we got like a very polished trainings plan, so the support was pretty good. And in terms of the J1 visa, so I found the videos on the website of InterExchange pretty helpful. So they really lead you through the process. And if you just focus and don't make any typos, then actually it's pretty straightforward. It's just a lot of filling out documents.
Yeah, that's a really good point about the videos, because the videos take you through like each step. And if you select the wrong thing, it can lead you down the wrong path. So you want to make sure that you select the right thing when you're filling out each of the forms. So that's a really good tip to follow follow the videos. Julia, how about you? How would you done it differently?
Okay, I don't think I would have done it differently because there was a lot to learn along the way. And what I realized was that it was a long process for me because with the host, it was their first time as well. So they had a lot of paperwork to fill in addition to my portal where I also had a lot of paperwork to fill. But in the end, I appreciated the process because InterExchange made sure that I was secure in a sense, because there were some documents the company had to get, for instance, the insurance for the intern. And so I realized that, okay, InterExchange is looking out for my best interest. So especially with some of those documents, although it was difficult for them to figure out, and so it made the process longer, it worked out well for me in the end. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I know sometimes it can be a little arduous getting the documents, but we do want to make sure you're going to a good host company that's going to take care of you. Lavinia, for you, process?
Yeah, I completely agree with all of the things that you have said that my colleague said before. The process is really easy. Thank you because you really are able to explain everything really clear, each step. You are really responsive. I mean, I remember once, not just by mail, but also by call. I remember once I was really stressed out for some information, and you just was able to calm me down. It was really great, helpful for me. And so, I mean, it's not really an easy process, but with you, everything seems really easy and easy to do. So thank you for your job, and thank you to be always so responsive. Always, thanks.
Thanks, Lavinia. Sebastian, did you want to add anything?
No, I would not have done things differently. I'd say the training plan is the biggest part of the process, but yeah.
Sure. Great.
Yeah.
We are a little short on time. I'm going to ask one more question of the group. Sebastian, I'll let you go first since you were last this time. The last question I want to ask is what it's been like interning in the US, and if there's been any difference or challenge in the workplace that you've encountered. So if you want to just share one, just how did you adapt to any kind of challenges in the workplace? So Sebastian, do you have any?
No challenges so far. Even English is okay. Americans are very friendly and easygoing, so they understand if you come from another country and your English is not that great. So I didn't get any big challenges. No big deal so far.
I'm glad to hear it, especially since you were in my home, in my hometown. People are nice there. Lavinia, how about you?
What I can say that, of course, is a new experience, is a really huge experience that we are doing. So, of course, in a way, challenges always can come. My advice is always to be really open-minded and adaptable for everything that can happen, because it's true, Americans are really open-minded too. My experience, I have seen a lot of people, I have met a lot of people that help me in so many ways. So if you keep to have an open mind, to be open-minded and an adaptable mindset, I think it's the best way to overcome any challenges.
That's a good attitude. Julia, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, for me, I don't think I had any challenges in the workspace. Everyone was always willing to help me and teach me, because as an intern, there is a lot to learn before you can work effectively. So everyone was always willing to help me, and people were genuinely interested in me as a person and also in my development. So I would always have people wanting to know what I did during the weekend, stuff like that. So it just makes you feel more welcome in that new space.
That's great. I'm glad they were looking out for your well-being. They sound like good mentors. Noah, any challenges so far?
Not really challenges, but I mean something which is kind of funny actually. As a German, we are used to like we are cutting to the chase pretty fast. So and we are not like talking. We don't do a lot of small talk, and here it's completely different. So it's kind of a sandwich. You start off with small talk, then you come to the real point, and then you finish off with small talk a little bit. And that was definitely different to what I was used to. But I wouldn't say it's a challenge. You just get used to it, and then you adapt your behavior also. So it's in the end enriching.
Yeah, that's great. Yes, we do like to sandwich things. That's true. Jorge, did you have any challenges adapting or anything different in the workplace?
Well, I'm gonna say that definitely I had so many challenges, but challenge doesn't really mean that it's something negative, right? And listening to the previous testimonies, I have to say definitely you all had the great and right attitude. So for me, it's up to the attitude and to your mindset. Do not come here having expectations like, especially in a country like the US, not everyone, I'm going to give an example, not everyone is going to say hi the way you're used to. So don't expect everyone to say good morning or enjoy your meal every single time they see you. But again, as long as you have the right attitude towards differences, which is the beauty of this type of intercultural experience, I think it's almost impossible that you're gonna have a bad experience if you have the right attitude. Everything is up to you, and a piece of advice is definitely do not waste your time being shy. And just to finish this question, I actually want to add something to the package of the interchange because I think it was Sebastian or Lavinia that mentioned the insurance. When I got to Chicago, I was there for 2 months, and in my second month, I had an accident. I was hit by a car while riding a bicycle. It was terrible. I lost consciousness for about an hour. I don't know what happened. I don't remember anything. I don't even remember the accident, but the police nor the ambulance showed up. So I just woke up on the sidewalk, and I couldn't understand what was happening. I didn't expect in 100 years that the insurance that I had would cover such an accident, but it did. And I was very surprised about that. So I guess I have to say it's a really insurance that you work with. And I think that's part of a good package overall, you know. So I also show my appreciation towards that.
And you fully recovered. You ran a marathon.
Yes, I
We have
fully
two
recovered.
marathon runners here. Sebastian also ran a marathon while you were here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
New York City one, yes. Did
Yes.
you, George, did you run the New York City marathon?
No, I did the Chicago.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
I ran the New York City marathon thanks to InterExchange. They offered me an opportunity. Yeah.
Oh.
So I thought it
So
was you also.
you were the lucky one then.
Yeah.
I remember
Very lucky.
I remember that window. Yeah, I received the email too.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you, InterExchange.
Yeah, no problem. Great run. Great running, guys. All right, so I do want to wrap up our questions, but we do seem to have a lot of questions from the audience. So Abby has been looking through them. Abby, do you want to bring up maybe a question and then somebody can volunteer to answer it?
Yeah, so the first question that I see here is, do you have any tips on how to encourage hiring companies to accept international interns or international applicants?
Does anyone want to take that?
I'm gonna take that one. So I I do not have the recipe for that, but again, it's a lot of it is being proactive, and I cannot talk for an experience that I experienced myself, but I can tell you that I did meet people that went to employers, and they were the ones proposing. Sorry, the applicants were the ones proposing the idea of sponsoring through, let's say, a J1 or whatever type of visa that you're applying for, internship or for a trainee program. So I think it's a lot of proactiveness, and it's up to you maybe to bring up to the table and wonder with that specific company that you want to work with to find out if they will be willing or not.
I'll also mention that we have a letter that you can give to potential employers that explains the J1 program too, because they might not be experienced with it. So if you, like Jorge mentioned, reach out to companies, you can use that letter to tell them about the program in case they're skeptical. Other questions, Abby?
Someone had a question about housing. And like, did your host employer help you, or did you find it on your own, or how did you find housing in the US?
Lavinia, would you take that one because you're in New York?
Yeah.
More challenging places to find housing.
Yeah, it is. It is one of the challenge, but no, my host organization, they didn't give me any support. Of course, people here help me with, asking to their friends or some connection. But yeah, I have used several application platform to find a place. The advice that I can give is to find something temporary at the beginning, like the first 2 weeks, 10 days, because when you are here, it's really easier to go around and to find the right place. So yeah, the advice that I can give is to book something temporary for like first 2 weeks, and then going around using there are so many platform, application, app, and yeah, it's not an easy process, by the way.
Lavinia, that's great advice. We definitely recommend coming here first, booking temporary housing, and then finding something permanent, because we don't want anybody to be subject to any kind of housing scams or anything. So that's really the right way.
Because it can happen, because it really can happen. It's not a fake news. Scams can happen. That's for real.
Yeah, so being able to see them in person before you commit.
Yeah.
Perfect. Other questions, Abby?
I actually want to add my some comments about my experience about housing, because I feel like once you overcome the challenge of the job offer, the housing is definitely the second most challenging subject that you're gonna have. It is very challenging, by the way, yes. At least I can talk for a big city as Chicago. I don't even want to imagine New York, by the way. But definitely be careful with the platforms. I have to say, in my experience, 99% of the offers in Facebook are fake. They're scams. Second, you will need the US market is going to ask you for a lot of documentation, being the main one, a credit score, which is required pretty much by, I want to say, every building or unit that it's taking applications, or landlord, which as a foreigner, we do not have, at least at the beginning. And the third one is that there are places, specific places or buildings or landlords that are used to work with students. So aim for those, because they're used to work with people and they know the legal background to take those applicants. So try to look for landlords that take students at first. And by last, I have to say, I want to say I kind of like regret, and something I would have done differently is here in my home country, we're not used to, or it's not so common to have roommates. So when I got to the States, I aimed to have a unit for myself, which I end up getting after pushing so much. But don't close yourself from getting a place with roommates, or even renting a room, at least for the first period of time.
That's a good point. Roommates can be part of the cultural exchange too.
Absolutely.
I think we have time for one more question. I wish we had time for more, but.
So what strategies did you find most effective in securing an internship in your field? So is there anything else that, you know, kind of last thoughts maybe that you haven't mentioned already about finding an internship?
I have something to say about it.
Yes.
For me, it's mandatory to send an email, a follow-up email after each job interview. It definitely helped me for both of my opportunities. And if you don't do that, for me, you will not get the job. Just an email to show your motivation and that you're open to another job interview. That's it.
That's really good advice. I think that we really appreciate those follow-up and thank you messages in the US.
This is it, how it works in the US. You need this follow-up email, I think.
Wonderful. Well, I want to thank all of you so much for presenting today. All of you had really great stories and insights into the process, into your experience here. So thank you so much. I will follow up with you. I will also let you go about your day now. So thank you for spending this time with us this morning. I hope you have a great day and, you know, internship or training that you're going back to for the rest of your day. So thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Everyone else in the webinar, stay on because we do have more.
Yes, Abby's gonna take over and talk a little bit more about the process. So I will hand it over to her.
Yes, everyone. I know there were a lot of questions about, you know, what fields we can sponsor and age limits and that sort of thing. So we are going to go a little bit more in depth into like eligibility and, you know, getting the internship. So I will answer some of those questions now, and then we can also answer some more questions at the end. We just wanted to let our panelists go so that they can get back to, you know, their day. But here again, like I said, we're going to go over some more eligibility and hopefully answer some of those questions that you all have already listed. So a big question that has come up is what type of internship can I do? So these are the 6 main fields that InterExchange sponsors. So we do arts and culture, hospitality and tourism, information media, management, STEM fields, and then public administration and law. So these are the broad categories, and then there are, you know, more specific internship fields within each of these 6 categories. I will say that some other sponsors may have other categories that they are able to sponsor, but these are simply what InterExchange sponsors. But if you are, for example, in a different field, maybe like agriculture, you can look into other sponsors that may have that as a category that they are designated for. What type of internships can't you do on this program? So the J1 program, you cannot do any unskilled or casual labor positions. So as Megan mentioned early in the beginning, when we were kind of introducing the visa, this isn't for work. The J1 intern and trainee visas are for training and cultural exchange. So you can't come over and just do, you know, you can't work at like a Dunkin' Donuts, for example, which is a fast food restaurant. So you do have to come come over and do a professional program. We also can't do any childcare or elder care on this program or anything medical wise. So we can't do any, you can't work with patients in any capacity, can't take care of animals or children. So those are just not types of training that you can do on the J1 intern and trainee visa. And then anything prohibited by the visa sponsor. So each sponsor will have their own requirements as well, kind of what they allow to for their type of internships. So you'll want to look into that. Ours are all listed on our website, so we do have more details there if you want to take a look. Great. So what kind of company can you intern with? So they do have to be a professional space, so an office. We do some hospitality programs, so maybe like a high-end restaurant doing a culinary training, or a high-end resort where you can do some like hospitality management. So some sort of office space. They do not need to have experienced staff to assist you in learning and training you. So they need to have someone, say you're coming to do a marketing internship, they need to have, a marketing professional who you can train with and receive supervision from. And they also need to abide by all occupational health and safety laws. And again, it's not for labor purposes, so you can't displace US workers, anything like that. You do have to come and be trained and learn and have that cultural exchange experience. Just one other note is that participants can't return to previous hosts. So if you've already done a different J1 program, say you were a camp counselor or you were on the work and travel program, that's great. You can come back and do an internship. You just can't return to your prior host. So you can't do an internship at a camp. You also can't do an internship with a prior work and travel host that you've already done that program with. So you do have to do it with a new company, a new host employer. So as you may have heard from the panelists, there is a training plan. So this is kind of like a syllabus. So it's what your host company will write, and it really outlines exactly what you're going to be learning and doing during the entire duration of the internship. So this is required for all host employers on the J1 intern and trainee program across all sponsors. Everyone has to write these training plans, and it does get uploaded into the government database. And it's also something you present at the embassy as you go for your visa interview. So we do have a guide on our website to help your host company write this. Basically, it needs to show that there's a balance between your learning opportunities and any contributions you make to the organization. So again, it's an academic internship where you're coming to learn. Training plans do have to be full-time, so the minimum amount of hours you can train per week is 32, and then InterExchange also caps that at 45 hours per week, because we want to make sure that you have opportunities to experience US culture both in and out of the office. So again, primarily a cultural exchange program, so the training plan needs to show that the company will be introducing you to US culture and also giving you time to explore the US outside of your internship. So can your internship be paid? So the majority of our participants, so 82% in 2023, did receive financial compensation from their host company during their program. So essentially, all programs over 6 months, InterExchange does require that you receive at least minimum wage, and trainees, regardless of the program length, do need to be paid. So majority of our programs are paid, and most participants received an average stipend of $2,888 per month. So that's something you can plan for, as you are looking for internships is, if you're going to have payment as an option from this host company, how much it would be, where the company, where the internship will be located, because if you're in New York City, you might need more funds than, say, if you're in a smaller city somewhere else in the US. So I know there were questions about finances and scholarships. So there is a program fee for the program, but you can receive payment from your host companies, which can really help to offset costs of coming to the US for an internship. So it's all something you want to consider as you're looking at host companies. Some companies also offer non-monetary compensation, like they might be able to provide housing or help you with transportation, like a subway card, for example. So those are all things that that's something you can talk about the host company with to kind of determine what they're able to offer in terms of non-monetary compensation and monetary compensation. Okay, great. So I know we're getting close on time, so I'm just going to do a quick overview of the J1 visa process and kind of how it looks. So the first step is to find an internship. So as our alumni panelists showed you, there are a variety of ways to go about looking for an internship. We do have resources on our website as well as the letter that Megan mentioned, and you will all get an email with these resources after this webinar as well, so you can use those as you start your internship search. So first you find an internship, and then once you have a host company who's offered you an internship, then you would apply for visa sponsorship. So that's when you would submit an application to InterExchange. Once you all complete your application on our website, you submit it to us and we do the application review. And we'll go over, the next slide is a little bit about timing about that review process. But once InterExchange is able to approve you, we then provide you with the documents you need to go to an embassy and interview for your J1 visa. So we help you, we have steps and videos, as our panelists mentioned, on exactly how to schedule that embassy interview, prepare for that embassy interview, and then get your J1 visa. So then once you have your visa, you're ready to travel to the US to do your program. So as I mentioned, the process, and you heard from our panelists that for them, it took about 3 to 4 months to find the internship, get the visa. Once you have your host company, you can complete the application on our website. Depending on how quickly you and your company gather the documents required and all of that, that kind of is up to you and how quickly you and them are able to do that. And then once you submit it to us for review, we do have one of the fastest review times of any J1 visa sponsor. Typically once you submit it, we'll take a day or two to look at it initially, make sure you have all the documents that are required. Once we confirm that your application is complete, then we will do a full review in 10 days. So that's where we read the training plan, make sure it makes sense with your background and that it fits the visa requirements, and kind of just make sure you and your host are both eligible for the program. So that full review process is 10 days. And then we're able to submit your approval. And once we're able to approve you, we give you those visa documents to then go to the embassy, as I mentioned. So the entire process from filling out your application to the embassy interview is about 6 to 8 weeks. So we do advise that you plan for that and make sure you give yourself enough time for the entire process based on when you want to come to the US. So just a quick overview of how you would apply. So as I mentioned, we have an application online. You would create your account. The first step is to invite your host company so that they also have time to look at the requirements and complete their half of the application, because there is basically one half for you and one half for your host. For your section, you have to complete information about your education, past work experience, and travel history. There are about 3 little mini essay questions that you have to answer about your background and your goals for coming to the US. You'll have to upload some required documents, which I'll briefly go over in the next slide. And then once your host company has completed their portion and written the training plan, you have the opportunity to read that training plan and make sure you agree with the training they're going to be offering you. And so you would sign that. And then you would need to pay the application fee before you submit the application for review. So some of the documents you would submit to InterExchange to apply for sponsorship would be your passport photo page, which is hopefully easy. Hopefully you have a passport. Then you would need to show proof of funds. So this is essentially you showing that you have enough funds to support yourself in the United States. We do take any funding offered by your host company into account for the duration of your program. But those first couple of months, 1 to 2 months, you may not. It takes a couple of weeks before you start to get payment from your host. So you would need to show us that you have enough funds to support yourself for those 1 to 2 months when you're in the US. So that's usually a bank statement, or we have a template that you can take to your bank and have them stamp it if that's easier. And then you would need to provide, if you're applying as an intern, you would need to provide, proof from your university to show that you're a student or that you recently graduated. We'd also need a transcript showing all the courses that you've taken, and this helps us make sure that your internship is directly related to what you're studying in school, which is one of the program requirements. Trainees will need to show that they have prior work experience outside of the US. So usually that's, we ask for a letter from your prior employers, kind of outlining what you did in your prior job to make sure, again, it's related to what you'll be doing in the US. And just one other note, all the documents do have to be in English. So if they're not, you would just have to have them translated to submit to us, and you would submit both the original and the translation. So in terms of sponsorship costs, here's our 2025 fee and refund disclosure. So this outlines exactly all the costs and kind of also additional miscellaneous fees you should be aware of. Basically, the program fees vary based on the length of your internship. So if you're coming for 1 month, you pay a certain amount versus if you're coming for 12 months. So this just kind of outlines what you can expect to pay to InterExchange for your program fees. And everything that's included, so the fees that you just saw on the previous slide, that does include accident and sickness insurance. So Jorge mentioned the insurance that he used during his program. Those fees listed do include that for the entire duration of your program. So there's not an additional charge on top of that for the insurance, that's already included. It also includes 24-hour emergency support. There is a CVIS fee that everyone's required to pay to the government for the student database management. So that's already included as well, and we pay that on your behalf. And then it does include the issuance of the forms you need for the visa. We also have so many resources on our website to help you with looking for housing, for help you with cultural adjustment, opening a bank account, that sort of thing. So we do have resources on our website to help you adjust to life in the US. And then we also have a social media list that you're welcome to join once you're a participant that will show you all the other InterExchange participants currently in the United States and hopefully help you to connect with them because I know that's something everyone's always interested in. Excellent. So that was kind of, a brief overview there since we're running out of time, but I think we can answer a couple of other questions that have come in.
Thank you all for your questions. Feel free to add any more in the chat that you have. I did see a number of questions about the fields that we sponsor. So we had mentioned the 6 broader categories of fields that we sponsor, but within those broader categories, there are subfields. We'll share resources after the presentation, but you can look on our website to see those broader categories and all of the little subfields within them. So there are hundreds of subfields. So definitely take a look and see how your experience might fit into one of those subfields. And if not, you would want to see if there might be another sponsor that does sponsor your field, like the field of education or the field of agriculture, as Abigail mentioned.
Someone's asking about age limit.
There is not an age limit for the program. The program is, both intern and trainee programs are geared towards young professionals. So to be eligible, you do need to be at the beginning of your career in your field. So if you have recently done a career switch, you may still be eligible for the program, even if you are more advanced in your experience. Like if you were a baker for 20 years and then you decided to start a business degree and now you're pursuing a field in business, a career in business, then you may be eligible to apply as an intern or trainee in that field. But generally, it is for young professionals who are starting out in their careers and finding their path. So keep that in mind when applying, but there is no age limit. You do need to be at least 18 to apply.
Are students from all countries eligible?
Yes.
Even if they're studying in a different country?
Yes, even if you're studying in a different country, and if there isn't a U.S. embassy in the country where you are, you can go to another U.S. embassy in another location to apply for the visa.
Great. And sorry, it looks like some of these are already answered, so I'm just trying to
I
make
try to answer some of the questions that were in there. We had a few questions about cost of living. So cost of living will definitely vary based on where you are in the US. We do require that participants show that they have enough personal funds to cover themselves while they're here. If you will be paid by your internship or training program, that can factor in to showing that you have adequate funds to cover your costs while you're here. But you do need to show at least that you have the first 2 months upfront. So you would need to show that you have $1,500 US dollars in your bank account or a guarantor's bank account for at least the first 2 months while you're here.
and then in terms of the order, does someone find the sponsorship or the internship first?
So the internship should be found first, because for these visas, you do need to apply with your host. So you and your host are applying together for the program that you would be doing. So for the training that you would be doing. So you wouldn't be able to apply for the visa unless you have an internship that you've been offered. So you're applying to do that particular internship or training program. So you do need to find the internship first. Okay, we have time for one more question.
It looks like that's all of them.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all for attending today. I really appreciate you taking the time to learn more about the process before applying. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out to us at the email address here, which is training@interexchange.org. And you can follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook and all the social medias if you want to get frequent updates from us. But otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful day, evening, morning, whatever time it may be for you. And thank you. Thank you, Abby.
Thank you.